Well, welcome to our Psalm project. We're on Psalm 24. And remember, we had Psalm 22, the death of Jesus, Psalm 23, the resurrection of Jesus. And then, of course, Psalm 24 is the ascension of Jesus. And it's worth remembering that it's written by David, it says there. And although some people have said, originally, it was about ascending up to worship at the temple in Jerusalem. But that could not have been the original context because the temple hadn't been built in David's lifetime. It was the earthly temple in Jerusalem was built by his son Solomon. So when David wrote this, there was no temple in Jerusalem at all. So that couldn't have been the context. And you sometimes get that when with what they call Psalms of Ascent, and we'll get into those as we go on in the project. But people will say, oh, the original setting for them was people going up the hill into Jerusalem to worship at the temple. Again, there's no evidence for that in the Psalms at all. But this business of ascension is hugely important in the scriptures. Moses, as they lift the Ark of the Covenant, he was into this matter of the ascension of the divine Messiah up to the highest heaven. It's something that modern people just don't think about, the importance of having this divine Messiah, the divine emperor, ascend in triumph to vindicate the reign of God over the universe. Modern people just kind of, I don't know, even people who write commentaries and things, they just don't think like that. They're kind of tied up with their own individual salvation, perhaps, or very, very limited earthly issues. But the people in the Bible, in their original context, had this much bigger kind of cosmic vision and the importance of this ascension. Who is going to get to the highest levels of reality and reign and be able to bring everything together, hold everything in place, make sense of everything, bring righteousness to the whole creation? Who's going to do that? I think moderns don't think, they kind of think of God in this extremely abstract sense, that God's kind of just this like all-powerful force that makes everything happen the way he wants. And the idea that he has a kind of divine empire and hierarchy and he operates through it and he established the universe with these things in place, and that is how he rules and reigns. Moderns kind of, as far as I can see, I hope to be corrected, but they don't think like that at all. But we want to read the psalm as it was originally intended, with this absolute focus on the divine Messiah. Now, the psalm begins with this strong assertion of the claim of the living God over the universe, the Lord. The earth is the Lord's and everything in it, or all its fullness. The world and everyone who dwells in the world. He founded it upon the seas and established it upon the waters. That's this initial claim. Now, everything depends on this, because we've just come from Psalm 22 and Psalm 23, where the Messiah is surrounded by evil people, the bulls of Bashan, all of that. And it doesn't look as if the Lord reigns. Like, the question really, in a way, coming out of those Psalms is, who's going to fix all this mess? Who's going to assert the sovereign rule, the divine rule? Who's going to make everything right? If the whole nations of the world can unite together in opposition to Christ, to the Lord and his Christ, and if Satan seems to rule the world, who's going to fix that? Who's going to defeat that and then ascend up to the highest heaven and rule in who's going to? Because Psalm 2 talks about the Lord and his Christ reigning. Well, how's that going to happen? Who's going to make that happen in the face of all the evil in the world. And it's kind of a little clue is given because there in Psalm 24, 1-2, this going back to the original creation, and that creation is out of water. We get that in 2 Peter chapter 3. It's there throughout the scriptures, the idea that there's chaos that is overcome in creation itself. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was without form and void, chaos and darkness, and this abyss, and the Spirit hovers over the abyss, this cosmic ocean of chaos. And then order, meaning, life, light is brought through Christ. The Father speaks his word. That word brings life, light, order, logic, purpose, structure to everything. And then that's the assertion that's made here at the beginning of Psalm 24, recalling this triumph over chaos that was in creation. And now this looking forward, saying, who's gonna reassert that? Who's gonna restore creation now that it's falling apart and there's chaos, lifelessness, barrenness, darkness, like present in polluting creation? Who's going to go up to fix this? Well, that's the question, verse 3. Who may ascend to the hill of the Lord? Who can go to that highest level of reality? Who can go to the mountain of God, the heavenly throne room? Who can do that? Who can stand in the holy place, the supreme holy place of the throne room of God? Who can do this? And the answer there is only the one who has clean hands and a pure heart. So we'll look, the job description is set out. There has to be someone who's capable of this ascension, and we kind of all know this need to raise up. We need someone who is capable of rising up to the very, very top of all things, of the cosmos, to fix it. Who can do such a thing? Well, it turns out it's not about will or power. It's about holiness, purity. The only one who can do this has to have clean hands, whatever they've done, a pure heart, so even the motivations and affections, the actions, the feelings, thoughts, motivations, they've never lifted up their soul to an idol. They've never worshipped wrongly. Only such a one. Never fallen to idol worship or lies, anything that is false. The one who is free from all sin. It turns out that is the greatest requirement only for someone who is going to ascend through the heavens, through the entire cosmos, to reign supreme, to reassert this reign of the Creator. It's more than we in terms of self-improvement cults and things. We always imagine, what is needed is willpower, physical power, perhaps financial power, strength, all this determination, vision, all of that. Turns out, no, the most important thing is purity, holiness, to be set apart from all the evil in the world, to fix the evil in the world. Only a person who is clearly not corrupted by it. And we're like, well, who is there who isn't corrupted by the lies and the deceit and the selfishness and the lust and the pride and the anger? Who's that? Well, yeah, exactly. That's the question that the psalm puts. Who's that? Who's never sworn deceitfully, there at the end of verse 4. Well, verse 5 is saying, look, that person, anyone who is that uncorrupted, that person will receive blessing from the Lord, and righteousness from the God of his salvation. Only that person. Whatever is said or done against that person, that will be put right from the throne of heaven. The forces of heaven are at the disposal of such a person, and then they can put things right. There, verse 5. And then verse 6 is an interesting verse. Notice that it says, "This is Jacob, the generation of those who seek him, who seek your face." So there's him, the church, Jacob, is seeking for this one, this pure one who will be able to ascend and put everything right, but also seeking your face, to the Father in a way. So it's the Father and the Son, the Lord and his Christ, who church seeks. It's a kind of Trinitarian verse, because Christ, this concept of the Christ, is the one filled with the Spirit without measure. So the idea of we seek him and we seek your face, that is powerful in verse 6. So church is seeking the one who can do the job and the one who sends him. Right, and then there's this selah there at the end of verse 6, as if we are given an opportunity to meditate now on the answer to this job description and how powerless we are to save ourselves, how none of us can do this job, and how we are absolutely dependent on heaven's champion, the Lord's Christ, who can do this. But then I love verses 7 to 10, because the he is found. Here he is. And then now we're transporting to like a mini version of what we get in Psalm 68. In Psalm 68, we get this wonderfully big description of the ascension of the Lord Jesus Christ and all the people that are with him and how it's ordered. And it's a wonderful psalm that's a lengthy, detailed description of the ascension. Here, it's just short. It's short, but it's to the point. And there's a heavenly welcome. Where the search for him is completed, here he is, and here he is doing the ascension. Psalm 22 was his death. Psalm 23 is his resurrection. And now the one who was dead and resurrected is now ascending to the highest heaven to rule as the risen Lord. And it's, of course, in heaven that his legitimacy to unlock the secrets of the universe, as Revelation tells us, he is able to do that and rule, to open the scroll, to have the authority to rule and to explain all the mysteries of the universe. All of that is because he is the Lamb who was slain, but now is resurrected. So those are his credentials: his purity, his death, his resurrection, and so he can ascend and kind of demand entry. So Jesus, with church with him, we get much more of the way church is ascending with him. That comes much more in Psalm 68. But here, it's this authority that he has, like, open up the gates of heaven, open up the gates of the city of God. They must be flung open, because this one has this right by death, resurrection, and purity to come in. Lift up your heads, you gates, be opened up, everlasting doors or ancient doors. That idea of ancient doors, that which are the gates of the city of God, of course, everlasting and ancient. Revelation has them as pearl gates. Pearl is made at the cost of great suffering. We could meditate on that, but those gates that are described in Revelation must be flung open, because he is coming. The King of Glory shall come in. I found this quotation from James Harvey commenting on this psalm. He says here, the prophet in the psalmist is a prophet. The prophet foresees the ascension of Christ and his saints into the kingdom of heaven. He sees the Lord marching at the head of the redeemed world and conducting them into regions of honor and joy. Quite right. That's a good commentary on it. So here they come, the procession. Get ready to receive the King of Glory. Make sure the gates are wide open to welcome him. Now, why is this question? Verse 8. Who is this King of Glory? The question is sent back. Why should we open the gates? Who is this King of Glory? As far as I can see, there's two possible answers to that. One is, there's no question of his legitimacy at all. They just, they enjoy this exchange. Like in a catechism, we all know the questions and the answers, but we enjoy the process of asking the questions and giving the answers with great joy and enthusiasm because we're celebrating the truth of it, so that the inhabitants of heaven know perfectly well who it is that's approaching. But they're asking the question in order that they can all rejoice and declare the answer. So that's one possible explanation. Another explanation, though, is that they don't fully understand what's going on, because it's like the angels that are manning the walls and the gates of the city of God in the highest heaven at the center of reality. The angelic guardians desire to peer into all these things that are going on, that the purposes of the Father, Son, and Spirit are not completely obvious to the angels. And so those angels who announce the birth of Jesus, it's as if they're like overwhelmed at what's going on. Or we might think that there are all these legions of angels who see Jesus in his passion and death, and they wish to come and rescue him, but he will not allow them. He will not allow them, because they're like, how can this be that he is suffering, being betrayed and suffering and dying? Let us come and intervene in this, but he won't allow that. And the angels, yes, they desire to look into these things, but that they're not allowed, sort of. And so it could be that the angels, when they see that the one that Christ who suffered, died, resurrected, now ascending, they're like overwhelmed with it and maybe genuinely requiring understanding of what's going on. I'm not sure that's the case, but there is this exchange of questions. Who is this King of Glory who has the right to enter? And they answer, the answer is given, presumably from the approaching procession, the Lord strong and mighty, mighty in battle, that he's coming back with, he's won this all-powerful battle. Then the battle was the cross, of course. It took all the power of God to accomplish the cross and the resurrection. The Bible tells us that all the almighty power of God was used in the resurrection. But I think also in the cross is the power of God. Like to kill the immortal God is impossible. Impossible to kill the author of life, and yet he accomplished it. And then the resurrection, such power. So the mighty, mighty Lord has accomplished this impossible victory in his cross and resurrection. And this is him. It's the Lord himself. So again, the question comes, or the demand comes in verse 9, lift up your heads, gates, and be opened, everlasting doors. The King of Glory is coming in. This is the Lord God. He's establishing his own claim over the universe he created. He created it from chaos. He is redeeming it from chaos. It is the creator is the redeemer, and he is doing this, the King of Glory. Who is this King of Glory? The Lord of hosts. He is the King of Glory. The hosts of heaven and the hosts of earth, church, and the angelic hosts and the human hosts of church, all gathered to him. What joy and celebration there must have been when the Lord Messiah Jesus ascended to heaven with the power and authority of the whole creation at his hands. And after we've studied this psalm in this way, we really do see why Paul in Ephesians chapter 4, verse 10, speaks of the ascension in the way that he does. And of course, he is drawing his theology of the ascension from these psalms. So in his ascension, Jesus lays claim over the whole universe, having defeated all his enemies at the cross. And now all the resources of the cosmos are available to Jesus.